Hi, welcome to our channel. We're the Simple Teachers. Today we're going to walk you through how to plan a comprehension lesson. So Angie's going to walk us through the steps. This is what both Angie and I do when we're planning our comprehension lessons. And Angie's read this text. I've never read it. We're going to use 6 Crows.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because I've never read this text. So it'll be like I really am planning a lesson from a text that I've never read before.
Yep. All right, so as a teacher, it's really important that we spend a lot of time planning our comprehension lesson because in the upper grades especially, most of our lessons come out of our comprehension text. So we're going to do our best planning here.
Yeah.
Spend a lot of time and align up most of our components to this lesson. So we're going to make sure to do a lot of thinking. We're going to be metacognitive, so we think about our thinking as we plan this lesson. So here we go. Step number 1 is we have to read the text. So we're going to read it all the way through. We may not clip it all in right now, but we're going to read the text all the way through. And while we're reading this text, we're thinking about a couple different things. We're thinking about what strategies we're using as we read the text. We're thinking about, are we summarizing? Are we questioning? Are we inferring? Are we predicting? Are we asking questions? You know, what are we doing as we're reading this text to comprehend as a reader?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to maybe take some notes about those things. I don't always take notes. Sometimes I use a sticky notes, different things. And this is going to help us determine which strategy or strategies we choose to use for teaching the text.
When I was new to planning comprehension lessons, I would have my little sheet, I'll put the description below, that went over the different comprehension strategies because they were right there sitting for me. So to teach myself how to be a metacognitive thinker, I had the strategies right there.
Perfect. Some texts, especially in, first grade texts, you don't have a lot of words on every page.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of different strategies happening. It's okay if you summarize all the time. Summarizing is our most important strategy to learn anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I summarize a lot. I summarize and ask questions as a reader myself, probably most often. But if we summarize a lot, we just do it for different purposes.
Yeah.
So it's okay if we end up choosing different strategies also than what our core reading program is suggesting. So they'll be suggesting things that they need to check off of a list. They're checking off a list. They're not necessarily going with what works with the text, and they for sure don't know your students. So remember that you don't have to go with what your core reading program tells you. You go with what's working for you and for your students.
Because our goal is to teach them how to understand text. And there's a lot of ways to go about doing that.
Yes.
Awesome.
As we read this, you may choose something different than what I choose too.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Absolutely. All right, so let's read the text.
Okay. I'm going to start reading, but we're going to press pause and it'll be like a cooking show where it's magically I'm done reading the text.
All the way done.
All right. We just got done reading the text. Angie's already read it. My first read. It's a wonderful text, so that was fun.
Yeah.
As we were reading, I was just literally taking notes. I just took notes of words that stood out, and then I went back and reread and did some stopping points.
Yeah, we did. So we wrote a couple different strategies that we had been doing. Now, I summarized quite a bit. You did some...
I was doing more predicting and commenting, but also summarizing in my head. So that gave us lots of options to choose from.
Yeah. I think we are going to go with predict and summarize.
So if you haven't taught either, you'll need to make sure your class has explicitly been taught summarize and also predict alone, because otherwise 2 strategies may be too hard for your class depending on the grade level. So make sure they know how to do both before you do both at the same time.
Yeah. And you can do either or both.
Yeah.
And some of the words we wrote down, we're going to decide now what we're going to do with those words.
Yeah.
We're going to teach them as explicit vocabulary words. if we're going to teach them just implicitly while we read, or if we're going to use them as multisyllabic phonics words. So we're going to do that. For our explicit vocabulary teaching, we're going to want to use the procedure that I love. We use it in our lessons, where you link it to the text. So you say it in the sentence from the text, you give a student-friendly definition, you give examples outside of the text, then you have the students come up with examples. And so you're going to use that procedure. All right, so we have our little sketched out notes. So what we're going to do also, we'll walk through the words, but we also need to look at determining the theme. And there's 2 pages. I'm going to actually read these 2 pages because they give us the theme of this text. And we have to use the theme to activate background knowledge.
Awesome.
That's our favorite thing to use for activating background knowledge. Okay. So here we are on pages 22 and 23. And we've just been introduced to a new character, the owl. And it's this little owl that brings us the theme. When she noticed that the wheat was wilting from neglect, she decided to talk to the farmer. "Why don't you make peace, you and the crows?" she said. "It's too late now," said the farmer angrily. "It's never too late to talk things over," said the owl. Then she went to see the crows. "What can we do now?" asked the crows, dismayed when they heard that the wheat crop was in danger. "Go and talk things over," said the owl. "Words can do magic." So right there is the theme of the text.
Words can do magic. It's never too late to talk it out.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So we're going to use that when we activate background knowledge. So we're going to write that down on our notes.
Yep. So I'm just going to write background knowledge, and I just abbreviate it BK.
Me too.
What do you do?
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to write, have you ever, let's think of something for them to think about.
Have you ever had a problem, or a problem you couldn't quite work out with someone? Or we could phrase it a little bit differently.
Have you ever had a problem with
someone you couldn't quite work out? Maybe have them think of what they came up with as ideas, or ideas that they could come up with and share with a partner.
Yeah. In this story, we'll learn a great way to solve problems.
Yep. Mm-hmm. A way that we're going to use in our classroom. Yes. I like to always link things back to character I had in my classroom.
In this story, we will learn of a great way to solve a problem in our classroom.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So there we are already now. We have the theme. We have our activate background knowledge, explicit language. So we're working right through everything we need for this lesson.
Yeah.
The next thing we need to do is figure out what our graphic organizer should look like. And since we have our 2 strategies, I think we have one that we can use.
Yeah. So we have graphic organizers already friendly for you to print. So the one we've printed includes both the strategies, and in our graphic organizers, we have some that have stop signs where you can go in and write in the stopping points of page numbers. That's so nice when you get to the you do alone type portion, because then it's right there and the children will know when to stop.
Yeah.
And it's nice for me as a teacher when I'm planning my lesson. So it's way nice. Or there's some without it. So we printed the multi-strategy, summarize, and predict from our Comprehension graphic organizers, and we're going to take notes on this. And this is my lesson plan.
Perfect. It already has my good readers summarize and predict as they read to help them understand language up there.
Yeah.
I could also refer to our explicit language, where we have the teacher language for both of those, our posters if you have them.
And in our Comprehension graphic organizers, when you print off the single ones, I have the language, we put the language out really explicitly under the single ones. But when you get to double,
there's no room.
There's no room. It's too much. And by then, you should remember the language, and they will need to be reminded of the language. But it's not new at that point.
Yeah.
So
we know that summarizes, we say or write what we just read in just a few words.
Keeping those main ideas.
Yep. And predict is that we think about what might come next.
Yep.
So the next thing we have to do is go through our words and decide which ones we're going to teach for multisyllabic and which ones we're going to teach explicitly for vocabulary.
Okay.
So let's look at what we have.
All right.
So cultivated, menace, dismayed. I think cultivated, it comes up more than once. We might want to give a definition for that.
Okay. So I'm just going to put a D for definition.
Okay. And menace, we could do that one within text, talk about what the crows are doing, or how they're kind of a menace to the farmer.
Okay.
Do you think that's one that students need or would use frequently? I mean, it's a good tier 2 word.
Yeah.
I like it.
I don't hear students using it frequently, but if they don't know the word, then...
Yeah. I could go either way with that one. It doesn't decode perfectly, so we either use it for vocabulary as an incidental or explicitly.
I say we do incidental.
Okay. Dismayed, I think multisyllabic all the way.
Okay.
Same
Brandishing, multisyllabic.
Yeah, for sure.
Proposals. What would you do?
And this is where the owl's making a proposal? Is that the one who's making the proposals? Right there. The crows
There are many proposals of what they should do, huh?
That could be an incidental. Ideas.
Okay.
Right. So proposals, maybe just an incidental on that one.
Okay.
Neglect.
When they neglected their wheat, that was worse off.
Yeah.
The wheat was neglected.
They probably don't need the decoding for that, but it's probably not a word they come across often. What do you say?
I think I could do it in incidental.
Yeah.
Because it would be real simple to say,
Yep.
Oh, they didn't give it any
Yep.
attention or
Yep.
care. And then I had just written peace mainly because it kind of went with the theme.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I don't think that's one that needs to be explicitly taught.
Okay.
But
perfect.
It just went with the theme. That's why I jotted that down.
Do you think cultivated needs to be taught before the text or after?
I think I would do before because it seems
That
that could have an impact on understanding the story.
Yeah. And it's a word that they would understand or be able to describe it in their own words after we've taught it. I think they'll know what that means.
Yeah.
It comes up more than once in the text too. Okay, perfect. Yay. All right, now we have graphic organizers. We've chosen our stopping spots. We showed that. Now we just need to go through and fill in the graphic organizer with our own thinking.
Yeah. And this could be the time we just reread it to put in the stopping points. This could be your time where you're finding your stopping points as well.
Yes.
This could be a reread.
Yeah.
These steps can be flexible.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So this part right now is what a lot of teachers think that they don't need. So let me just give a little plug-in for why we do this.
Yeah.
When you're in gradual release, you start with your I do, your model. So you do your think aloud. And then the next time you stop, you think, oh, okay, I'm going to do we do. I'm going to have the kids help me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you do a formative assessment and they're not doing well, you have to go back to model, which means you need to have that thinking on your page. So it's just a safety blanket is what I call it. If you have that written down all the way through the text, you can stay in I do the whole way through if you have to.
Yeah.
And then also you found it to help with
it helps with management, pacing. But even if you do get to the you do alone, as you're going around giving feedback, you've got your answer key right there. It becomes an answer key for yourself because I can't remember at which stopping point what happened, because at that point they might even be reading it on their own.
Yeah, for sure. I like to say it allows you to release your mind out of the lesson.
Totally.
Because your lesson, your thinking is right there. So you can let your brain be out there to give feedback, to give reminders, to do other things So it releases you from a
Yeah.
lot of things in your teaching.
Okay. Well, let's show them how we fill in the graphic organizer. We won't bore you with the entire text,
Yeah.
but we'll get going on a little bit.
Okay, great. In a peaceful valley at the foot of the Balabadur Hills, a farmer cultivated a field of wheat. The soil was fertile and the spring rains had been gentle. Life would have been good and happy were it not for 6 noisy crows who nestled in a tree nearby. Just when the wheat was about to ripen, the crows descended upon the field and pecked away at the tender grains. All right, let's stop and summarize what we've read, because this is the first time that Whitney was making a prediction. So we're going to summarize first and then write down what her prediction
So
was.
I'm going to write page 5, and
Yeah.
we count the first page with text as
As
page
page-
1,
yeah.
and then every page thereafter.
So far, there's a farmer,
So a farmer
has a field of small wheat, and crows pecked.
and crows.
I want to just say pecked at it.
Yeah. Pecked at it or pecked at the wheat, right?
Yeah.
Our summaries do not have to be perfect sentences,
No.
right? We're just putting out all that information we're retaining in our mind on paper. It's a
And-
graphic organizer.
In as few words as I can.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you were making a prediction.
So I'm trying to think what I originally predicted. It's kind of fun as a teacher because we can have tons of predictions and kind of predict what our students might predict too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you want to predict?
That the farmer's going to do something mean to the crows, or that the crows are going to ruin the wheat.
There we
Could
go. Yeah,
either way.
totally. So I'm going to
Maybe
put
both.
the farmer will, whoops, let's spell correctly, will scare them away. And I could also write the crows will keep eating all the wheat or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Okay, so then we would continue reading.
The farmer tried to chase the crows from the field, but no sooner had he returned to his hut than they were back. In desperation, he built a scarecrow.
So at that point, you could either stop to confirm the prediction. So you could decide whether to confirm your prediction or not right there, or keep going.
Yeah.
Teacher choice.
Yeah.
And if you confirm, you can have them write yes, no, put a check.
Mm-hmm. We do have another graphic organizer that has a third column that has confirm in it.
Uh-huh.
If your students write small enough, you can use those.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's keep reading. When the crows saw it standing in the wheat, waving a big stick, they were frightened. They huddled in their tree and wondered what to do. We must scare that thing away, they said, but how? All right, let's stop here.
So I'm going to put, yep, he did scare them away. They're now in a big tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're at page 10,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to summarize.
So the farmer used a scarecrow and then I think the next thing I'm thinking is more of the prediction. The crows might come up with an idea
Okay.
because they said, but how? What? Let's look. What did they say? We must scare that thing away, they said, but how?
Exactly.
So the scarecrows are thinking of an idea.
The crows are thinking of an idea to scare away the scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my prediction could be what in the world they're thinking of, right?
Mm-hmm.
What prediction do you have?
Mhm.
Let's
I
do.
don't know what crows could do. If I haven't read this before,
I would say the crows are gonna go peck. Yeah. The crows will go peck at the scarecrow.
We'll have to be brave because they're scared of it. So we'll see how brave they are.
Yeah. So you would continue doing that through your entire story.
Yep.
Until you get to the end.
Yep. And as you do this, this is your planning, but you get yourself fully prepared to teach this lesson. Nothing left out for any unknowns.
Exactly.
Except for your student thinking.
I would write the text title right here, 6 crows. You could already have that written in before you make your copies. On my teacher lesson, I put a little note for background knowledge right here. I put my vocab words right there, or my multisyllabic word reading.
Let's do that. So background, we have it up here on our notes. Have you ever had a problem with someone?
And remember, when you ask that question, you need to have a response before that. Think in your head.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get shout outs.
Turn to your neighbor and share a time when you had a problem with someone.
Yep.
And then vocab, we did...
Cultivated for sure.
Cultivated, yeah. And then we're going to make a little note in the text for menace, proposals, and neglected and peace to do incidentals.
And so you could just put a sticky note in your text as you come to them.
Then
or you could keep writing.
I think the only thing we're missing is our model. When we come to this first stop, our think aloud. So when we come to this first stop on page 5, we say, class, I'm going to stop and summarize. I'm going to think about what I just read and write it in just a few words.
I'm going to stop and summarize. And then define what summarizing is. And that's why having that teacher language is so important.
Yeah. And then you say this as you write it. And then you say, now I'm going to predict and think about what I think might happen next.
Yep. That's explicit language during a comprehension lesson.
Yep. And then you say that as you write it.
Yep.
And then I think you're done.
Yeah. And then you could think of some good after discussion questions as well. But that'll get you through the during reading process.
Yep.
All right.
All right, so we're glad you watched us as we thought through planning a lesson. We hope it helped. We have lots of resources for you.
Yeah, we have graphic organizers that can help you save you time. We'll include some free resources as well with teacher language to help you write your lesson plans using explicit language for all of the comprehension strategies. We have comprehension posters. We have tons of comprehension stuff. Go check it out.
Yep. Comprehension strategy instruction is where it's at.
It is. Well, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like this video, share this video with your friends, find us on Facebook and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can keep making awesome videos for you. Thank you.
Simply teach.